Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Workflows and Espressos. We've got a lot to unpack. Okay. I have a voice this week, which is crazy because it was such a wild week. So I just got back from VRMA late last night. And while it's all fresh in my mind, I wanted to download everyone on the conference and so many listeners I got to see this week, which was really, really, really cool. I talk about this all the time. Like, podcasting is so fun, but when you record, it's literally me in my pajamas in my house, and I just, like, send it off into the ether. So to be able to see people in person, one is both, like, nerve-wracking and embarrassing when I see people who are like, "I listen to your voice every week." It makes me think, "Yikes," number 1. But it is really cool because it's this medium that's so unique in that way where it's different than standing on a stage and talking, which I love to do, but there's, like, instant, connection, I guess you could say, where podcasting, you don't get, like, instant connection. So, it was so fun to see everybody this week, and I don't know. I'm feeling really good about Verma and the direction forward and a lot of really good feedback. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. Okay. First thing is that Phoenix, the best part about Phoenix, aside from Verma, was Waymo. And let me tell you something about me and Waymo. We linked up repeatedly. Okay. I was trying to take a Waymo any opportunity I could get. And one of my friends would not get in a Waymo. So we would order 2 separate for she would take an Uber and I would get into a Waymo. So if you haven't been to Phoenix, Waymos are the self-driving cars. And yes, it's obviously bizarre to be in a car where there isn't a driver, but it is so cool. Like, you feel as if you are in the future because you are. It's almost 2025, okay? So the conference overall was so exciting. It was very busy. It was my first conference being involved at the leadership level with Verma. So I don't know, it's funny. I always think as like I've only ever been an attendee on the property manager side, and you're kind of able to create your own path, and of course, you have vendors that you wanna meet with and people that are inviting you out to dinner, and so things are always busy at a conference, and then I always think about a supplier that, like, has to be on the floor at 7:30 every single morning and prepared and talking and demoing all day long and then taking clients out to dinner. It's such a full day. I got a taste of that this past week, and I would consider myself to be pretty extroverted, but I'm pretty tired. By the end or by honestly, like, the plane ride home yesterday, I was like, "I can't wait to get into my house and not leave my house for multiple days." The feedback was really cool. So I obviously, like, being a first time, like, board member, which I am not really a board member until, like, late yesterday. I have never received feedback. I've obviously been in circles where people are talking about their experience with the conference so far, but I mean, because I was wearing the board of directors ribbon, like, I would be getting coffee and someone would come up to me and say, "Hey, I see your ribbon. Like, here's my feedback on this coffee station." And I'm not close enough to, like, the board of directors, like, feeling it within me yet to feel any type of defensiveness whatsoever, and I hope I never get there. Like, I think it's so important when serving on a board to go in without a lot of preconceived ideas, and also while you're there, like, you know that you hear a lot of negative feedback, and it's important to stay neutral and not take it personally, but it's really easy for me to do right now as I have not really served yet, right? So hearing all of this feedback, which both positive and negative and neutral, was so good. I loved it so much and I kept a running note on my phone and just like the entire time. So that was really exciting. And then I tried to attend as many sessions as I possibly could, attended different sessions from the team that I had with me, and my teammates and I kind of got together and talked through our takeaways. So, without further ado, let's get into it. My first takeaway is very exciting. Also, I haven't given you a wedding update. How could I? It's soon. It is very soon. It is 3 weeks from today, which as I'm recording on a Friday, and so 3 weeks from Friday the 18th, which is when I'm recording this, and that is so exciting. I am definitely in the stressed period. I am, like, collecting my outfits, making sure I have all my shoes, doing all the things that I need to do to get ready wardrobe-wise, and then there's so much on the planning side, like, our honeymoon destination is trying to coordinate any activities that we wanna do while we're there, and I'm like, "I can't even think about that." Um, we're getting, like, the final banquet event orders for food and drinks, and yeah, it is like a whirlwind. I had to like, I put it on pause while I was in Phoenix just because it was so busy and I really wanted to be present, but now that I'm back home, I'm like, "Oh gosh, it's all here," and I have so many packages. I have so many packages, like, the amount of things that I've ordered, but we did get custom matchboxes for our wedding, and they're so cute, so I'll bring them to Darm, honestly, if we have extras. So my first takeaway from the conference, which I feel I've seen a lot about it on LinkedIn in the past 24 hours, and the sessions in general that I was able to attend was so much of it was centered around human connection, which I loved. It was so good. It felt like it was something beyond the norm where we kind of go in and we hear the sessions that a lot of times like feedback that I have given to Verma and gotten is a lot of the comp or the sessions have kind of seemed the same. And this year I felt differently about that because it went into a one layer deeper and connection was a huge topic. I don't know, there's something about it that keeps coming up, and it wasn't just connecting with your guests or connecting with your owners, it was connecting with your peers, it was connecting with your employees and your teammates and networking at conferences and how that connection is so important and so necessary in what we do every single day so we know that we're not living in a vacuum, and I think the biggest takeaway was that human connection powers, like, meaningful experiences for everybody, and it's so true when you say it out loud, but it's harder to think about, and it was so like, the first keynote, Ben, was so good, and I cannot stop thinking, like, I wanna go back to the MTV archives and watch every episode of The Buried Life, but if you didn't hear the keynote, he and his friends created a bucket list when they were fresh out of high school, and it was 100 items that they originally wanted to complete in 2 weeks. And they ended up setting off on this journey, which gained a lot of buzz. This is like 2006, 2008, like later pre-2010s. And their mission was everything on their bucket list that they were able to check off, they would help somebody else check off their bucket list item. And so he talked so much about the power of connection and how giving and being in service to others like truly helps you achieve your own goals. And I don't know, it sounds kind of cheesy me saying this out loud alone in my living room, but it was so inspiring. And I love inspiring keynotes before, you get out there for multiple days and you're exhausted at a conference. And a lot of what I heard, Rachel Alday, Hart Logan, and Lenny Jones from Tandemly and Rachel from Abode did a session. It was the last session on Wednesday that was incredible about Abode's secret sauce, and a lot of it was based on human connection and how it's built by vulnerability and listening and showing up for someone and delivering on what you say you're going to do. And I think, connection is so important for so many things, but for us, like we spend more time at work than we do at home. We spend more time with our teammates than we do with our family a lot of the time, and they do become our family in a lot of ways. And we have so much opportunity to make an impact on others, and I loved that during Rachel and Henny. I'm just combining Hart and Lenny, it's their couple name. Rachel and Hart and Lenny, their discussion, they talked about the pyramid, which I can't remember what the pyramid is called, so Rachel's gonna have to tell me. But at the bottom of the pyramid, it is service. So basically what you expect for service is I'm getting a my hair done. I expect you to cut and color my hair. I'm paying for it. Like we're exchanging money. That's the service. And then there's hospitality, which is like the next level of the pyramid. And hospitality is all the ways that you can make somebody feel welcome and appreciated, right? Like hospitality is my hairstylist greeting me at the door and us talking to each other about our families and creating a connection and her showing interest and her giving me a scalp massage when she is washing my hair at the end of my color service and not just washing my hair out and then getting to the dryers and drying my hair and styling it and sending me on my way, right? It's like going that extra mile a little bit and making me feel the warm and fuzzies. And then there is the top of the pyramid, which is connection, right? That is when my hairstylist greets me with a London fog when I get there. And she's anticipating my needs and she's creating my belonging at the hair salon. And I feel welcome there and like I belong there and we're connecting beyond I'm paying you for a service and you're giving me a scalp massage. And Abode really focuses on this pyramid in their service. Like, hey, we have a basic service that we need to provide. We need to have clean units upon check in. We need to make sure that we're taking a deposit and we're charging the final balance and we're following all the rules and we're sending the agreement and we're fulfilling the needs of the agreement. Then we're providing this hospitality, this warm welcome, a kind person on the phone. And then we're going above and beyond, right? When I stayed with Abode and they knew I was driving, they sent me a package of items before I arrived, and it's something that we do at Outpost as well that we've never, like, named before, and it was so interesting to have a to see it on a PowerPoint and hear it talked through the importance of this pyramid. I have to go back and look what the pyramid is called, but I loved it so much, and it was all based on connection. And truly, like, what I value most from conferences is, like, above all else, which there are so many great takeaways, is the connection piece. Like, there is nothing I love more than spending 3 days with my friends who have experienced the same things that I've gone through on the professional side, people who I really admire and look up to, that I get to ask for advice and mentorship over a couple of days, meeting new people. Like, it is just such an energy giver in all the ways that it's an energy taker. Like, I definitely walk away more energized and more excited and like so, so, so grateful for this industry that we're in. And it does, like, create belonging, which all goes back to the connection piece when we have the opportunity to learn with our peers and commiserate with our peers about this industry that we're in, and then, like, have a glass of champagne with them at the end of the night. I love it so much. Hello and welcome back. Ashley, I'm so excited to have you this week. I can't wait to hear what the In Haven Insight of the Week is. So what do you have for us today?
Hey, Megan. So, as you know, InHaven is a procurement platform built for the vacation rental industry, and we help hundreds of property management companies representing tens of thousands of listings. And one of the biggest headaches professional property management companies face is managing linens effectively during turns. Fast, accurate sheet changes are critical to keep your operations running smoothly, and any delay can impact the entire turnover process.
1000%. Please tell me, how is In Haven helping property managers solve this problem?
Yeah, so we are huge fans of hospitality grade sheeting, which is designed to make the lives of our housekeeping teams a lot easier. These sheets, if you don't know, often feature a color hem stitch, like a green hem stitch for the queen sheets or gold hem stitch for king sheets. And this allows the housekeeping teams to quickly identify the right size, saving them valuable time. Have you noticed these hem stitches in hotels before? Because
I
all the
have
hotels,
not.
oh yeah, you've got to flip over that sheet and check out that colored hem stitch.
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea because it's not super noticeable to guests, but makes a huge difference in operations, I would imagine.
Totally. What we see is our professional property managers actually take one step further. So they use this color hemstitch, but they also help their teams by selecting white sheets with different patterns for the different sizes. So, for example, a king sheet could have a white on white micro check design. The queen sheets are all solid white, and the twins have a narrow tone on tone white stripe. And so this approach maintains that clean white look that the guests prefer while making it easy from a visual perspective for the housekeeping teams to easily identify what goes on the king bed versus queen versus twin.
Like, this information is mind-blowing to me, and I can't imagine the time that it saves. I'm like, I wanna go and order all new sheets for every single property right this second. So, for people like me, Ashley, how can people reach out to you if they wanna do this themselves or they wanna learn more about how to implement?
Sure. Yes. Definitely reach out to me at ashley@inhaven.com or visit our website. We really would love to work with all professional property managers and help them streamline their living programs to improve turnover efficiencies.
Thank you, Ashley. See you next week.
Thanks, Megan.
Another huge takeaway that I had was on the operational side, and I heard time and time again. And it was so nice to get some, like, great recognition on the operations side that all things like maintenance and housekeeping and laundry, front lines, like, that is considered to be the most difficult part of the business and the most challenging department to figure out, and it felt like great recognition. Like, we always have operational sessions, but I feel like you don't hear a lot like, "Damn, it is really, really, really hard to do this in a vacation rental company," and it felt like that was a huge focus of this year's conference, and I loved it so much. The first thing that was really talked about was motivation and how it goes such a long way when it comes to vacation rental operations. Like, we all know that it is such a difficult job to be in. There's no two ways around that. And employees that receive recognition, which, this obviously is important in every aspect of the business, but it was interesting to hear it from this perspective that it just goes such a long way to create happiness and retention and better performance and a nicer work environment. So Tim Cafferty did a session on recognition for these frontline operational employees, and he mentioned this data collection piece that he used with all of his team members. So anytime someone would start, he would send them an Excel spreadsheet. Like, it didn't have to be anything crazy. I'm sure you could use a Google form or survey or whatever. And it basically asks for some details on this employee. So what's their favorite snack and their favorite candy bar and their favorite movie, like getting to know them a little bit better. And then he also asks them, like, what would you want if you were given like a $25 gift card or a $75 gift card or a $100 gift card? And they could write in the things that they wanted. Then he asks them if they have any children or a spouse, like what their family's names are and when their birthdays are. And I loved this so much because what I do is I kind of listen for it in my teammates and then I write it down in a note. But I love that, like, just when somebody starts asking them this information and then keeping it stored. So when their birthday rolls around or they do something incredible or they've been working really hard or they've had a rough week, you can surprise and delight them. And I thought it was such an incredible takeaway. And I'm so excited that, like, in 2024, these are the sessions that we're having, right? Is how to keep your team motivated, how to treat them as well as you possibly can, how to keep them coming back, and if they're seasonal, and how to keep them staying if they're year round. And I just like all this focus that we put on our team when they grind day in and day out for us is was so heartening to hear. And another thing that Tim talked about in his discussion, which I definitely took away, was the need for private and public recognition and the difference between the two and how they're both important in their own ways. And public recognition being like awards that you give to your team members or a shout out or a certificate, sending an email out to the company congratulating somebody on a really great job. And then there's private recognition, which is sending an email, writing a handwritten note, giving them a phone call and saying thank you and recognizing that person, reaching out to them on their work anniversary or doing something special for them. And then, of course, like in the forms of compensation and how it doesn't always have to be monetary, it can be benefits in the form of an extra day off, or you can come in late tomorrow, or you get this special parking spot at the office. And I loved it. I had so many great takeaways from that discussion, and I thought it was so good. And then there were several sessions. Lance Stitcher did a great session on laundry operations, and it was such a cool, like, I loved, Lance's session on, "Hey, look, this is exactly what you need to do to build out a laundry facility." Like, every single thing you know. And then Rachel's session on Abode's secret sauce, like, it felt like there was a level of vulnerability in this year's sessions, which was really exciting to see where people were truly, like, again, giving away their secret sauce. And so a lot of this was really practical knowledge on starting your own laundry operation and exactly what that looks like and vetting a space, finding an area where you could do that, what machines you need to buy, what cleaning chemicals you need, what type of water quality you need to have, all of these actionable items that you need to have the best operation possible. And I felt like the operations tracks were just so incredible. And we had like amazing property managers speaking on their like secret sauce, and I loved it. So, revenue management, I might need to, like, do a separate one on revenue management in general and how things have evolved over the past year, but I sat in some great revenue management sessions as well, but I really wanna talk about owners. So, putting a pin in revenue management, and maybe that goes to a later, um, episode, but owners, such good information, and the big thing that stood out to me with owners in this year's sessions was retention and communication, and how better communication leads to retention, and how if you're not already tracking your retention rate is so, so, so important, and then understanding when people do leave your program, why they're leaving, and how to prevent it from happening in the first place. So, the big drivers of retention that I took away, number 1 was regular communication, which in a lot of ways speaks for itself. And, I think we talk a lot about, like, what the line is between over communicating and under communicating, and I think just communicating in general, like, Jason spoke to this in one of his sessions, was just like, hey, at the end of the day, there is a direct correlation with owners that you're not talking to leaving your program versus owners that you are talking to. And we really saw that at 360 Blue. So the biggest thing is like you're better off over communicating with your owners than you are under communicating with them. And I completely agree with that, right? Like they want to know that you're present, they want to know what you're doing in their property every single day, that you're taking care of it. And this doesn't always have to be on the revenue side in general, right? Like this is just communicating. So Amber Knight from iTrip and Jen Talbert from Key Data talked about proactive owner communication and analysis. And it was so good because they talked about, we all know this, right? Like it is so much better to be proactive than it is reactive. And on the analysis, like revenue management side of things, sharing that proactive analysis is very, very, very important with your homeowners. If you are not seeing something that you want to be seeing, tell your owner before it is too late. It is so much harder to reach out to an owner and say, I should have lowered rates. I saw this and we've been monitoring it. And, we didn't do anything in time. Like, obviously, we're all going to doctor that up to sound the best it possibly can. But proactive analysis is really important, and anytime we see something like on the outpost side that doesn't look so good, we reach out to the owners ahead of time and say, "Hey, February is looking a little bit slower than we anticipated, but here's all the things that we're doing." Knowing how and when and what to say, I think is really important. So, number 1, when. I think the when, like the big takeaway is sooner rather than later. Don't wait too long. It's so much easier to say it now than walk it back later. And what to say is the truth with data backed analysis. And then always, which we've talked about in earlier episodes, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what we're doing about it. Never give an observation without giving a solution if it is like a perceived problem. And then how to say it, and I think that how to say it depends on the owner's preferred method of communication. If it is via email, then say it in an email. If it is something that you feel really needs a phone call, or if there's an owner that only appreciates phone calls and never checks their emails, then pick up the phone and give them a phone call. It is all depending on what your owner's preferences are, I would say, on how to say things. And Jen and Amber talked about this too. Like it all starts with expectations, which I couldn't agree more with. I think it's, when you sit across from the owner and you look them in the eyes, it's a little easy to promise the world. And if you have a different team that is meeting with your owners in the very beginning business development phase than the ones that are delivering on those expectations, there can often be a breakdown in that communication. But I think being very clear from the beginning on what you can and cannot deliver is incredibly important and what they should anticipate communication to look um, like, it all starts with those expectations and tailoring those expectations to your own program and your own company and a specific owner, I think is where the relationship starts and how you build that initial trust. Getting ahead of concerns, which we spoke to, right? Like, that's that proactive analysis. You don't want the owner to reach out to you and say, "I'm concerned about this." You want to reach out to them first, and that is so, so difficult to do when you've got bad news to share, but I promise you it is better off now than later. And then having an understanding of who is the person on your team is on first for contacting those homeowners. It's different for every single company. I recommend if you are the CEO or the owner that you're building out a plan that gives you some leeway later on to be able to step back. And if you're anticipating selling your company, it's really hard to do when you are the main point of contact for every single homeowner. So starting to set up a process and a plan and a team of people who can field those regular owner communications, I think is really important. And then the other biggest takeaway that I took away is surveying your owners, which is important in a lot of ways, but like you just don't know unless you're asking how they feel and what their sentiment is, and surveying your owners so you know who they are and what they think of you and who you need to pick up the phone and call immediately before it's too late. I loved it. So good, so good. Like, the owner communication side of things was really, really, really educational, and even when you go into sessions and you think to yourself, like, "I am doing these things already," like, number 1, it's helpful to know that you're moving in the right direction and, like, you're rowing in a way that the overall, like, industry is heading in, but also it's helpful to hear just that, like, th you're doing a good job, right? Which we just don't often hear a lot, right? And, like, you're doing the best that you can. And there is always something that I take away, like, even if it's something I'm already doing, I learn a new way of doing it or something that's more efficient than how I'm collecting data, and I just I don't know, I loved it. Very helpful. So on the networking side, I just I don't know, I can't overstate how much life that it brings to day to be able to honestly, like, commiserate and celebrate with your peers in a setting, and I know that, every conference is not perfect, like, there are things that you're gonna wanna change or something you didn't like about the show, and it was so nice to hear the feedback while I was there, and I know that our board is really excited to hear feedback and make adjustments moving forward. I think we all have our listening ears on and are excited to get the feedback, so please keep it coming, like, send me an email or a LinkedIn message, fill out the surveys at the end of each session, like, that is actionable data that we can collect and use for future conferences. So, I don't know, connecting with peers is really important and letting off the steam after we all work really, really, really freaking hard every day, I think is what keeps us going for longer. So, although we're all probably really tired and don't have voices and are ready to sleep for a couple days before we move on to the next conference. I loved it, and I loved seeing all of you, and I can't wait to see what the next conference has in store, and I wanna hear your takeaways too. So, I've been reading them on LinkedIn, but write in, post, tell us what you took away from the conference and what you think was great, what you think could be better, and I can't wait to chat with you guys next week. Have a great week and happy Workflows and Espressos Tuesday. Bye.